Live with the team. And I'm going to give you the link right now, okay, Ring?
Gotcha.
This is the link. Check if it works.
Good, I see you.
Oh, shit, okay. Okay, is everything as it should? I know if it's broken, then we're fucked, but that's okay.
I think it is. I think it's all fine here.
Yeah, what's up, guys? So, Ring, look at this. See, if I click on someone's name, like you can see it appear. Obviously, have me muted because you don't want to hear me twice. That's cancer.
Oh yeah, I see everyone. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, and remember, there's a delay. So when we talk on Discord, there's gonna be a fucking delay in the stream, but it doesn't really matter, because we can hear you on Discord.
I see the chat. I see.
Yeah, you see the chat, so that's the most important. Yeah.
See dollars. Nice. Someone's already hitting us with the oh no. They know something spicy's gonna happen.
Oh no, yeah. Oh yeah. Something spicy. The EIE Social 2, aka the Ring. The Social 2 EIE. Sapras, hello, and this is what we do, right? We're gonna go like, hello guys. I cannot hear the guy just a little. I don't know. They say they cannot hear you well.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay, don't worry. I increased some volume. It should be fine. Oh, come on, man. Thank you, but it's our favorite Enneagram Sigma tuber. It's interesting how on YouTube people have the most creative, terms and words that they use. The guy sounds like his microphone is in a water bottle. That's not good.
I know.
Give me a second, guys. Give me a second, okay? Okay, guys, on a serious note, it just takes time, okay? It just takes time. Karta lub ekran. Karta.
This is why I never really got into streaming. I hate dealing with like all these tech issues.
Yeah, I'm trying. Okay, guys. We need update the sound, okay? Ring, say hello, say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's get the sound going, the checkup.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Can everybody hear me?
That was a rhyme, by the way. Keep us.
Okay, cool.
He's good.
We're good.
Just like that.
Made it.
Just like that. We fucking just like that. We fixed that motherfucker. We hear, but barely. Oh my fucking god, guys, I can't fix it. Barely. The sound is good. Okay.
I'll try to talk louder too. Louder than usual.
Yeah, I mean, why are you a cunt? That's my question to you. Like, just increase the volume. Like, I can't fix it. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm tweaking. My TE is tweaking already. Rex Mac is better. Yeah. Maybe turn your mic down a bit so we put it up.
That's a good idea, actually, because that's like the big problem. Is yours is like probably 50% louder.
Okay. I see what you guys doing, but how the fuck?
Ratio proportions.
But how do I even do that? I'm not sure if I can even do that. What about now?
That Seth Rogen LIE laugh. Yo, nice to see you, James. Oh yeah, you could technically just move a little bit away from the mic too. It's a good point.
Oh, okay, guys, keep me. I'm gonna lower it. Tell me, can you hear me? I'm lowering it right now. How's the sound? Hello, it's 30%.
How we doing, everyone? Oh, we're getting yeses. That's 3 yeses.
Yeah, it's good now. Okay, thank you.
It's
Now,
democratically good.
approx. Yeah, now you're on his level. Okay, you're sounding fine this whole time. Okay, let me go up and see. Okay, guys, seriously, today, me and Ring, right? Ring, obviously, you know Ring, a famous celebrity from fucking from PDB, but yeah, he's social too, by the way. FE minus, FE minus. This is how it looks like. Cringe. But we kind of gonna talk about maybe some questions about Ichazo. If people have some questions about Ichazo, if people have questions about Enneagram, fixations, whatever the fuck you guys got questions for, shoot them. You know, and off top from my own kind of to get the ball rolling, Ring. I was kind of talking to Pragmatist today, and to me it was kind of funny how, and I did this too. You know, using a tri-type but not realizing that tri-type was based on Riso Hudson because it's based on Catherine Favr's theory. So when we use tri-type, right? Like let's say most PDB uses tri-type, they're not actually using tri-type because they're using Naranjo's subtypes with tri-type theory, which by the way isn't theory because she uses very specific Risa Hudson kind of attitude, right? So in my eyes, it's like if we want to use try anything, we should use trifix because there's a clear method of what the fixations are. There's 9 fixations, and you can clearly pinpoint everything. And it follows the theory of the author, the trifix. It follows the theory of Ichazo. But with tri-type, at best, you are butchering the system of Catherine Favre. What do you think about all of this?
So it's really interesting, and I know a lot of people have heard me say this. I'm not a fan of tri-types at all. I used to be in it when I was new into Enneagram, and I thought, oh, this is a cool system. But the way Catherine seems to be doing it is that she takes aspects of each of the different Enneagrams and then kind of makes this kind of super typing where there's also the kind of like modern trifix, which doesn't do it that way because it's not a tri type. You know it's a tri type because Catherine hits the little trademark at the end. It says tri type PM.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's the regular trifix in modern where it works similarly to the original Ikazo. Um, but the problem is that if you're a fan of Naranjo and if you're a fan of clinical Enneagram, it's not really this apparent thing. In fact, I think that he considers a secondary type, like say, for example, if you are a social 4 and your secondary type is the sexual 4, you would be SXSO E4, fine, right? But Naranjo doesn't really go into depth with any sort of
There's no such thing.
Type.
There's no such
no
thing.
Such thing. Yeah. Ikazo's original system, the one that he started, the one he really started defining in proto-analysis, that was one of his earlier works. And this year, his wife, Sarah, released the Enneagrams of the Fixations.
That's why everyone's tweaking about.
Yes, that's why everyone, if you've seen around someone is saying, oh my God, P this, P that.
Yeah.
That's because thank Sarah for releasing the most concise version of Ikazo's system that he had delivered to Erica way back in Chile many decades ago.
Yeah.
In the original system, you're going to find that finding your tri-fixation is way more built into the system. It's not just, okay, here is your major fixation, right? And then everything else is just extra. No, in fact, one of the goals of the original system is to find your tri-fixation. It's important to know what your major fixation is, but the tri-fixation is built into it because you want to find what fixation you have in each domain. This is not something that you're going to see very apparent in Norhano's version, where it's the most popular modern Enneagram outside of course, Rita Hudson, or the Catherine Falk version, where it's tri-type. So I tell people Norhano doesn't focus on that.
Yeah.
Catherine's version is suspicious.
Yeah.
Not like, in a
Yeah.
evil bad way, but just like it doesn't kind of make sense.
Yeah, it's
fun.
I think
Uh-huh.
Catherine's when you really look at her breakdowns of descriptions, it's kind of like it does seem to me like it came from Reddit. Oh, you are
Yeah.
innovative, knowledgeable, controlling person. It's based on adjectives and basic personality traits, which to me, I mean, I kind of think it's kind of foolish, and even it just seems very basic. Like someone who's new sat down and kind of like, well, I'm an 892 fucking this unicorn because I like unicorns and I'm a compassionate person, And it's like, oh fuck, really? There's nothing there, but that's my takeaway from that. We got some other questions, but that's why we need you to be the 2L individual. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Hamp asked, what does BLU stand for? Now, listen, the BLU is actually, funnily enough, you're asking me this question because the person who made this term is literally in a call with us. It's Ring. And it's like a little inside joke that he kind of made because of the whole, social aid thing and how I am overall as a person. So it stands for brotherhood, loyalty, unity. It's just a meme, to be honest. It's just a fucking meme. He's just memeing, that's what it is. Which, by the way, it's not really a meme because that shit's real. That shit's real.
For sure.
But it's kind of satire, But let's get going. Okay, we have a new question. Are you able to explain the difference between social 3 and self-preservation 7? That's on you, Rain. That's on you.
Oh man, this is a fun one because this is a common mistype that also occurs. Many people type social threes as SP7s, SP7s as social threes. And the reality is that the social three has a lot of the same behaviors and defense mechanisms that you're going to see apparent in the SP7. But here is the kicker. Even though they are very, very similar to each other in terms of how they may behave, the core thing that drives them is so different. And this is why it's important to find the neurotic fixation or the neurotic need of the person you're typing or the subject you're typing. At the end of the day, the social three has identified at some level a standard in which they want to embody, generally one that has power and leadership behind it, having physical material resources, and they utilize this status to validate themselves and their image, which of course they confuse with love. Sad, I know. We confuse a lot of bad things with love in the Enneagram. The SP7, and this of course makes sense because this is a social three. They are they are fixated on the social instinct, right? Where we have the self-preservation 7. The SP7's biggest concern is to survive. At the end of the day, every single SP is afraid of and fixated on literally not dying. Okay, but the SP7 with the gluttony of the E7 creates this person who needs to ensure that they have networks of resources, materials, pleasure, knowledge, whatever it takes for them to feel stimulated to disconnect from their inner nihilism of the E7, but in particular to ensure that they feel safe, that they're going to survive, and then they have what it takes to not only survive but thrive. So the SP7 might be a charlatan, is a charlatan. The social three is also a charlatan, but the social three uses their E7 like tendencies to ensure that they get their validation for their image. The SP7 at the end of the day does not need that same type of image. They have their image as a tool to ensure that they are able to survive and have their stimulating pleasurable existence. If it's knowledge, if it's materials, if it's food, if it's drinks, it doesn't matter. And so at the end of the day, they might seem similar, but they're actually very different inside. They're driven by different things.
Okay, so we have some questions for you. By the way, hello, Pragmatist. Nice to see you here, man. I want to ask Ring regarding whether he trusts rigid trichotomies more or nuances in the trifix. and why. The tri-type descriptions are indeed quite brief. I agree with that.
Okay, and I just want I'm thinking you're talking about Catherine's system because you said tri-type there as well. I will say that it becomes kind of interesting because let's take one tri-type, right? The 127 versus the 137. They should have a lot of similarities, but here we have the 127 now wants to be this mentor, teacher, guide who wants to like help everyone, where we have the 137 who's this now builder of logical systems, new structures, and it's like it just does. It feels weird where the lines are drawn that categorizes the different tri-types.
Yeah,
Now, if we're
it's
talking
very
about
vague. It's very
it's very
vague. Yeah.
yeah, right,
Mhm.
right, Russ. It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't. It feels like
You pick and choose. It feels like they pick and choose
yeah.
what lines, what differentiates them. They pick and choose.
Yeah, and I really respect systems that try to be semi-prescriptive. Of course, being too prescriptive is bad, but trying to give a bit of more of a solid characterization, I
Mm.
respect it because it's really hard to do. I just feel like in Catherine's, it just doesn't feel like the lines are cut correctly
They
between the
aren't.
different archetypes.
They aren't. And to me, my biggest fucking problem being Typology, the worst thing you can do to me is not having the right methodology behind the typing, because there's no system there, and there's no method there. And it's sometimes I look at descriptions, or especially when you look at the community level. On the community level, it's even more confusing because you ask one person, like, why did you type this person with this fix? You ask another person, they have completely different interpretation. And it's
Yeah.
like, fuck. So you just pick and choose what the fuck you look at. To me, it's very unreliable. With at least with trifix, you know what you're dealing with. There are fixations. You look at the fixations, and that's kind of it. But another question from EJ: in the way that he describes you, what do all sexual types have in common? What do you think, Ring?
Oh, this is a great question. And this is something that a lot of people in the community get confused by. And I'm going to answer your question by giving a brief rundown on all of them. We already talked about how the SPs are neurotically fixated on the idea of survival, that everything they do, even if they're seeking inclusion, like the SP3, they do it because they feel like inherently they will survive because of
Mm,
that. The socials, which the sexuals get confused by a lot, the socials are fixated on relationships, communities, groups, organization, and society at large. It is how we interconnect with other people. They will fixate on those aspects of our reality. Now that we've defined the SP and the SO, let's look into the SX now. The SX is not simply just relationships. However, the SX will be defined often through relationships with other. But the SX is neurotically fixated on intensity, the energy between two different objects, especially them and others, that feeling of vitality. It's more of like a passion itself than it is a simple like relational structure. It can be towards them and others, it can be towards them in situations. It's the intensity themselves that they are fixated on.
and I want to add on something to this, like people and we started fixating on instincts, right? Like all of us, I think at some point in Enneagram, when we were new, we kind of went to the Enneagrammer website or different websites, and we looked at the instincts. Am I SX, SO first? And over time, people told us, hey, this is a really dumb idea, you shouldn't type this way because we have subtypes. Ignore the instincts. But what, and it's funny because I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, because I sometimes see people type specific subtypes even though I see zero inclination towards that instinct. So this guy is sexual 8. There's no reason to believe he's a sexual subtype, what the fuck soever, but he's typed as that. So that begs the fucking question: why is he typed as that? Like, how can he be a sexual subtype? Because a sexual instinct still gets intertwined with the neurosis of the 8, with the lust. So then comes the manifestation. That's how fucking subtypes work. It's a instinct affecting
Mhm.
the fucking core, the lust, and it manifests that way. So you know you so as what Ring is saying is still important, because you should still fit the instinct. If you're a social 8 or social 2, social 7, you should still be fixated and neurotic about relationships, about us versus them. What side are you on? What's the bigger picture? What are the groups? Where do I stand with the groups? The social impact, all of those things you should care about. And those things is you're a slave, basically, to your instinct.
Yeah, you are.
Literally, like, I'm not kidding. Like a social person, and I've done this. I'm sure Ring has done this. Trying to, for me, trying to going through different phases where I'm distancing myself from a community, being like, this is fuck all this, this is bullshit. But having always needing to come back, always needing to have something with people, with a group, with a community. Always, it's no different than a fucking addiction, because it's neurotic. So my advice would be, guys, still make sure you have the instincts right and understand the instincts, because they are important. Okay, don't just ignore them. That's my take.
And I just want to add something, Russ, because you made some excellent points right there. For those in the chat who haven't done sufficient research into modern Enneagram, the way your subtype works, let's say you are like a sexual 2, right? We want to break that down structurally. In modern Enneagram, you start off with a passion. Those are the numbers 1 through 9, right? And from those, in this example, we're picking the 2, right? So 2 is pride. From there, each of the core Enneagrams, like the 2, they have a fixation. And from that fixation, you have a type itself. Because once again, a sexual 2 is a subtype. The actual type is E2. Now, Claudio Naranjo takes it further by adding instincts. Instincts is the 3 domains, like we talked about earlier: social, sexual, and self preservation. To create a subtype, he takes a passion with a fixation, right? He takes, for example, we're using E7, right? We have gluttony with the fixation of self-indulgence. You mix that with an instinct, for example, the sexual instinct. There you get a subtype. But these are all individual things. Passions, instincts, and fixations are 3 different concepts you should understand, because those 3 things create the subtype itself. And to say that, the subtype is the only thing that matters takes away from the structural importance of each subtype. And you can say you can read, Galossos, or you can read Ira and be like, well, I'm a social 1. I only have to care about social 1. I don't have to care about E1, or I don't have to care about the social instinct. But the reality is, Naran and his team literally have synthesized these subtypes from those core bases. His team cares about that shit. If you don't care about that, that's a problem, because they build up each subtype in that same way. Open up the book and look at the first 2 chapters, and they explain literally how they synthesize the social 1, the social 3, the SP7. And this is what Russ is saying here. Don't just look at the subtype. See the whole image. See the structure behind it.
You have to think about, and it's sometimes difficult, because I think we want to think categorically, want to think simplistically, in an isolated format. No, you have to look at the big picture, and there are multiple parts that create the big picture. So focus on them, understand them fully, and see how they all connect to create a whole. That takes time, but you will grasp it. Now, this question from Hotshots is: what do you think of Naranjo, considering his background? Typology is more suited as a DSM the categorizations tool than a general personality typology? If you can expand upon that, it will be great. What do you think?
I know what Hotshots is saying here, and I'm gonna bring in Akazo, because
okay,
at the end of the day, right?
For sure.
The idea of Enneagram being used almost as a diagnostic tool to figure out your fixations has existed since the beginning of Enneagram, at least until the Ikazo days. So that's in like the 1960s, 1970s. It is actually Naranjo who has taken this step forward to create a kind of archetype, in a similar way Jung has made archetypes, which in turn to MBTI and socionics. Naranjo and others, so the contemporaries of Ikazo, were the ones who moved it towards a typology. if you actually read Enneagram of the Fixations, which is the one that Sarah, his wife, released this year, there's no words of someone being typed as something.
Yeah, there are no
When
types.
you are, for example, fixated on point one, which is like, for a lot of people, that'd be the equivalent of E1 in modern, point one. No one is going to say you are P1. You can't type as P1. You are majorly fixated on P1. You are fixated on that point, similar to how you would diagnose someone with something. Naranjo built upon that, added a psychological background, but it was his work that really popularized the idea that you are archetypically, or once again, type
Yeah.
as said thing. So personally, I don't like the idea of types because it leads people to idealize and manifest their personalities around fitting into a box. I like the idea of it being closer to a diagnosis because it leads a, a better path to transformation.
I think, you know, this is a good fucking thing because you're basically saying that you don't like it because they will identify with the label, and because they will, it will becoming a fucking image circle jerk, identity circle jerk, which I agree. It can even be harmful, right? You see someone identifying with a label, it's not good. So I get that, but you know, naturally, I'm more into the clinical modern anagram. Like, to me, Naranjo has a very like pathological approach. Like, okay, this is the pathology that you have. This is the type, and it's specific. There, look at all those traits. Look at. So to me, I feel the system is more concise. The system feels it's clinical, so I appreciate it. While Ichazo, view more as, I really don't know. I think spiritual growth on that kind of way that you can achieve for sure. But I think Naranjo allows you to look at the details of your neurosis to the point where it's so specific down to a fucking detail, and then how to fix it, how to kind of get better, you know. And with each other, I think each other works because sometimes it's easy, you know. The types are kind of easy, like there are different domains, there are ego projections, ego reaction, whatever. And once you understand that, you get the big picture. But I think Naranjo goes deeper, which I personally sometimes prefer. It's mixed. Sometimes I like, wow, Ichazo really nailed it here because it was much easier to understand. I think it's better. Or sometimes it's like kind of like, I prefer Naranjo because he actually went really in depth. That's my take. But Ring, you're not done yet. What are some differences and similarities between the infamous Social 2 and the infamous Social 7?
Oh man, you know, as the symbol of both of these types, I'm just joking. But
Fuck you.
it's actually straight. It's so. This is such a good question because you can actually deconstruct social two and social seven based off of what I have said earlier. Yes, I can go and give you some quotes um, from the E2 book and the E7 book, but we can synthesize the answer by just looking at the structure of social 2 and social 7. Yes, in common, they are both fixated on the social instinct. So naturally, we will not find our answer looking at those two areas. What we want to see is the difference between E2 and E7. The E2 is part of the image triad, the shame triad. I don't know. I forget exactly who named it that way. Maybe it was Riso Hudson. If so, it was good. If it was Narano, it was great. One of the moderns did that, right? But the idea there is people assume that only the E2, the E3, and the E4 are the only ones that project the image. Everyone is no one else in the modern Enneagram subtypes project an image. That is not true. And this is a huge point to understanding the difference between the social two and the social seven. Because the social two and the social seven do have a lot of similarities. But at the end of the day, when we move towards what's the inner mechanisms, the social seven and the social two both project an image. But guess what? A lot of the social instincts do that. The social one projects an image of being morally superior, elegant. The social eight projects an image of brotherhood and loyalty and togetherness. Every single social instinct subtype you know is min-maxing their image to project in a certain way because they're fixated on how people relate to them. So that saying the idea that E2, E3, and E4s only project an image is problematic. So how do you know if someone's E2, E3, and E4? It is because they don't know that they're projecting an image. The E2 feels they have overabundance, that they can do whatever they want to. Nothing can stop them. They have more than other people. The E4 has the exact opposite. The E4 feels like they have less than others, that they're deficient, that others have more than them. And the E3 has that deceit mechanism where they truly believe that they are the person that they say they are. Every single shame image type deceives themselves at some level into their image. Every other subtype that does image projection, as we established earlier, because not only the image types do image manipulation and projection, do not fall for their image. Look, for example, look at the social one and look at the social seven. The social one understands that they can be imperfect, even though they like to convince themselves they're not. They're still an E1 at the end of the day. The social seven, since we're talking about it, they know that the image that they project, the ideals that they say to other people, is not who they truly are. How do we know this is true? The social seven has one of the core behavior aspects of guilt. The social seven feels guilty because they know that their true self, the self that they don't show to others, is different. It is incongruent to the version that everyone else sees themselves as. This is not possible for the social two unless they go through a lot of growth, because the social two is an E2 and is part of the image triad, so they lose themselves in their image. The social seven is part of the fear triad, right? They don't lose themselves to their image. The E7 knows about their charlatanism. They know that they're projecting an image. And the social seven holds themselves to such a high standard that they feel guilt that they are not the person that they should have been. And that is a huge part. Don't think about, oh, both the social two and the social seven are theatrical. They want to help people. They want to be like, these extraordinary people. Don't think about that. You're going to get confused. Think about the fact that the social seven knows that they are a fraud. The social two does not know that they are a fraud. And that's a huge part. And sorry, that was a little long, but I feel like it's really important to just break it down instead of just quote spamming.
No.
Who wants to do this?
No, you broke it down you synthesized the information from the. That's an actual LIE, because there are some people who think I'm an LIE. Do you see this? Do you see the difference? This is an actual LIE. But the way you just started from I don't even know what the fuck to say. But the point is, it was smart. That's the fucking point. But I want to. It's funny because once you were the one who introduced me to this way of thinking in terms of the distinction between those image types, like the social 7 and social 3, because I used to rely on the behavioral motivational thing, and it's like sometimes it gets blurry. But you were right. What's their attitude to their image? At social 7, at the end of the day, they know it's a K up. They know it's and they're not attached to it. They don't live it. Social 2 lives it. They embody it. A social 2 genuinely believes they are a hardworking, hyper ambitious individual. They can do it all, even though they're laying on a couch doing fuck all. No. You will call them out. They still believe it. And you're like, how can this fucking guy be so delusional? He actually believes it. There's no way. I'm sure he's aware he's full of shit. No, he believes in it. Even if he's a couch potato, he thinks he's this all capable motherfucker who can do anything if he put his mind to it. That is. So the social 7 knows. Oh yeah, they know that they can be they're irresponsible, that they can be flaky, non-committal, and they like to have fun and escape their shit by doing fucking grandiose things. They know this. They're aware of the image that they are projecting and the difference between who they actually are and the image that they project. So super great tip for people, and amazing distinction. So fuck, let's go. Yeah, no. See, that's why we need you. It's too early, yapper. That's what the fuck we need you for. The ring knows his shit. Very true. I wanted to. Impulsivity is a general trait of sexual. Ring mentions intensity. I think because with sexual instinct comes intensity, and with intensity there's more likelihood for impulsivity, more emotionality, more intensity. The impulsivity is a side consequence of those things, I think. So it's not necessarily going to happen. I don't think a sexual one is going to be an impulsive person, or a sexual five, but uh, many of those types will be more so, than the rest, than the SP1, for example, the sexual one compared to the SP1. So that's my take. Now, Office asking, I've seen you change your adaptation fixation to P5. What is your rationale behind it? So it's a good question. And I was talking to a pragmatist, actually. We were kind of discussing different adaptation fixes, because I was considering obviously 7, I was considering 6. I never thought about 5 really in each other. I never really read P5. I never had a fucking idea what it was. So with P7, I felt like I don't have a complex about superiority or hierarchies and the position, who's this, who's there, the idealistic fucking achiever. I feel like the perfectionistic shit. I really don't have it. I don't have a complex about that. I can maybe look at the description and be like, oh, superiority. Yeah, cool. But is that something that causes me issues? Is that something that clearly has some intense neurotic response? I don't think so. Okay, because I don't see it. Now with the P6, it was interesting because I was like, okay, maybe I'm P6. To me, it sounded vague, like work flow. Okay, cool. Um, but I was reading Enneagram of Fixations, and when I was reading it, I really didn't relate to anything. I'm reading it and I'm like, what the fuck? This fits my wife. My wife is an SP4. She fits this fucking P6 shit very well. But I'm like, I can see how she's always judging herself, that she's not doing enough, how she's always try harding, how she's and I'm telling her, like, you need to relax, like, you don't need to try so fucking hard. Life's not all about work. So I'm like, yeah, I don't think I have a complex about that, because if I did, I think I would be much more of a tryhard, or there would be bigger dichotomy. And I didn't relate to. I know pragmatists sent me some other sources. I completely did not relate to the P6. Then I went into P5, which was interesting because I'm reading P5 and I'm like, this is very different. Okay. I don't know how an SP5 can read it and relate to a lot of it. I'm gonna be honest, like, because when I was reading it, it's someone who views themselves as charming, communicative, social person, social climber, right? And I'm like, how the fuck would an SP5 even relate to this? I just spelled my fucking shit, right? How would they relate to this shit? So, but then I realized that there's two dichotomies to this type. There's dichotomy of being this social person who's busybody, nosy, and engaged, but there's this other side that pulls away, that is cynical, that is detached, that is antisocial. So to me, if I look at which issue, which complex, which neurosis is there, is this socialization, is this people, is this exposure with people, or is this hierarchy, superiority, idealism? I don't see that. I see a bigger issue with the way I approach the world. you know a difficulty with exposing myself, being put in a situation when I don't feel control, meeting people, certain people that I did not decide I want to get in that situation, having that kind of exposure. Everything has to be on my terms. And of course there's a relation of P2, P8, both there. But I feel like, if I even my wife was like, and she that was the thing, she was like, yo, this kind of explains a lot of shit about you, that you don't really this weird relationship that you have with people. And this wouldn't be that surprising because I used to unironically type myself as an SP8 SLE. And that's what it was so hard for me to type myself, because I'm like, well, am I a sort? I care about those group, about the loyalty, about complicity, and I do that. But on the other hand, I also, it's hard for me to get attached to people. It's hard for me to. There's always push and pull. There's always going away. I'm just gonna be on my fucking own, and there's going back with people. So that's kind of what made me think, like, am I an SPA? That's why I believed it. It's ridiculous, but I believed it at that time. So that's my explanation. I was it was too long, but we can talk about it on the server. I'm sorry. Okay, more.
No, I think that's a good explanation. Honestly, I'm kind of convinced too because I was one of the proponents of getting you from P7 to P6.
Yeah.
And you know what? I did not consider P5 for you, but now that you explain it, yo, shout outs to American Pragmatist. He knows his shit.
No,
Like,
no,
shout outs, dude.
no, Pragmatist is genuinely like super fucking smart dude, you know, and he has been the one who, me and you, right? Me and you. He's
Yep.
been the one who
Oh yeah.
been. I've been learning from him, you know. Oftentimes, I've been learning from him, so. And I had the same thing. And you know what's really funny about this? I type myself as 852 actually back in the day, right? I did think I was the tri type, but it was tri type, right? So it was different. But then I'm like, no, I'm not. You know, I'm not this like. Well, actually, I was correlation typing too. I'm like, nah, fucking fucking five fix SCE fucking 8. Get the fuck out my fucking side. So that's what happened, you know. But looking at it, I do see it, and I never concluded P5. So my advice: learn from my mistake. Genuinely, when you are in Ichazo, forget everything you know. Forget everything you know, literally. Like this is, and it's gonna give you fucking some clarity. I thought I knew Enneagram 5, yes, but P5 it manifests way different. So don't just discredit different possibilities, really, especially as your fixes. Don't sit down and actually read it before you even say, nah, I can be that, you know? So learn from my own mistake, but on my own journey. Okay, let's get some more going because I kept fucking
I just
yapping.
want to add to that what you said, especially in the Kazo's original system with the trifixations. They're very open in
Yeah,
that way. There's no like, oh, if you are like a P8, like we have Rust here,
yeah,
you can't be a P5. No, you know, as a minor fixation. That's
yeah.
simply not true. So,
Ye-
which is really great. So look into all of them.
yes, and that again, you know, do not be. I think for sometimes for people it's difficult because you know we have our knowledge, we have the knowledge of the enneagram, and we at least for me, you know, I have this framework, and the reality is, listen, you have to understand there are differences, and when you're approaching each other, approach it to learn, you know, learn the system, not forget about any ideological push, just learn the system and give it a try, see what happens. I'm not saying every type is compatible, no, but do not just eliminate fucking possibilities just because no, that'll never be me. Haven't even read shit. Okay, so that's my take. Okay, AI is asking, what makes SLE H more different than her ring is gonna be like, man, fuck this shit. What makes SLE H more different than the natural SLE description? It will be okay. Yeah, ring's not gonna. No. So this is beyond ring. Ring that probably does not fuck with this shit. You know, this is the socionics, multiple schools, multiple different
Oh
fucking
boy, here we
right.
go.
So it's very different. But I would say this: forget you're using Model G. When you're asking me this question, you might not be aware of this. By the way, you might not know. You genuinely might not know you are using Model G, but you are. So what I'm doing is Model A. It's a different system. Literally, it's a different system. We don't do. It's different. Okay. In Model G, there are subtypes such as harmonizing, which is what you are, right? Presumably, or it's dominant or creative. So you have those subtypes, but you cannot. They only work in Gulenko's theory. Okay, you cannot apply them to Model A because that's not from Model A. It's derived only from Model G. Now, I used to say when I look at an SLEH, the way I look at that to me, that's an SLI. Okay, I'm sorry, but that's a fucking SLI. Uh, Although I could also be talking out of my ass and being fucking ignorant and just having opinions for the sake of having fucking opinions. That might also be the case. But listen, if you are an SLE, you are an SLE. That's it. Okay. Your subtype is just a flavor. It's just a bit of a flavor. It's not different. Okay. So if you are an SLE, you have to relate to the fucking SLE. Don't worry about the harmonizing. Don't actually abandon Gulenko. Just please, just fucking abandon Gulenko. Abandon this fuckfest. it's a circle jerk. Come to the dark side. We have cookies and we have ring. Okay, we are better.
He's right. He's right.
Yeah.
Objectively, we have cookies.
How do you go about insecurities in psychosophy? Let's say you are both quite copy about your physical realm, but also copy about your willpower. How do you decide what your third placement is? And that's on you, Ring, because I think you got some good insight on this one.
Yeah, for sure. This is really interesting because if you're coping about your physical realm, but also coping about your willpower, the way the system was designed, willpower, aka volition, it is not like the other placements, the domains, not placements, domains. It has a special place within the system, and because of that, if your volition is copy, you want to identify what place in your psychotype it is. Forget your physics for a second. If you think it's copy, probably you're thinking it's third volition,
Yeah.
then you prioritize that. Volition is not like physics, it is not like logic, it is not like emotion. It has a special place, it has been designated as such. So
Mhm.
you want to prioritize its placement first.
Mhm.
Likelihood is you have third volition.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you feel copy about your physics, the likelihood is you
One
probably have
after.
physics in the one. And yes, you have
Yeah.
probably a first physics
Third
and a
volition.
third
Th-
volition. Perfect. And
Yeah.
third volition, first physics, psychotypes are some of the most common as well. But I would not be surprised if this is your psychotype.
It
It's a pretty cool one too,
and
you know?
and I want to go about this because you said people it would be, and you see this often. You see the sexual threes, you see many of the two cores, the ESCs, being like, yeah, but how can I be one F if I'm so insecure and I'm always worrying about my makeup and overdoing everything? It's like, that doesn't mean you can't. You are so fixated on you put all your baskets in your first placement. That's all you did. So
Mhm.
and the will is weak. So everything is shaky. Everything is shaky. So of course you're gonna be constantly think about your makeup. You are still thinking about physics all the time. That's your number one shit. You have an abundance of that, and that says something. I'm second physics. You don't see me obsessing about physics. I don't go around fucking physics. Oh my fucking god. In fact, I'm quite flexible with it. You know? So that's very different. And as he says, focus on finding your willpower. For example, for 1V types, it does affect things differently. It makes everything look more firm. Sometimes you might feel like there's no weakness. Sometimes you might feel like it's hard to really identify the third placement because I really don't feel insecure in any of them. And this is something that is a byproduct of first will. So yes, as Ring said, willpower is an important placement. Make sure to identify it first.
Yeah, and just adding a little bit more to what you were saying, Russ,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
especially about the second placement, the author of Syntax of Love also designated the second placement to have the least amount of effect from the third volition as well. So it's unlikely that your
Oh,
second physics, the same
right.
way,
It
just not
wouldn't be
least,
affected as much by it.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It
yeah,
is,
yeah.
but it also the least of all the different placements
Yeah.
on your psycho
Oh,
picture.
oh
Yeah.
fuck yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. I second you being P82. Thank you for pragmatists. It's because of you. Ring, how would you? Nemeza asks Memphis, aka Memphis, he's on the server. How would you include an Aronicos enneagram into the general practice of Gestalt therapy? I've heard of this Gestalt therapy. Do you think it's a simple numerical categorization of possible fixations people have, or something more?
Oh yeah, this is gonna get geeky, guys. This is gonna get really fucking geeky. Oh, am I supposed to curse on here?
You can curse. You
Okay,
can
cool, cool,
curse.
cool. I want to make sure. I don't get you demonetized on
No, no,
YouTube.
no. We passed that. We are fucking
Okay,
past that.
fucking geeky on here.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those who don't know what Gestalt therapy is a form of therapy, psychotherapy that has you focus on the present. It's not this looking backwards into your past. It's not aiming towards the future. it is this idea of focusing on the processes that are happening now and assigns a lot of self responsibility over your experiences. This is a strong connection with modern and classic Enneagram because the idea, and I know the community keeps this as a back thought, in the recesses of their mind, but Enneagram is used for transformation. Enneagram is supposed to identify what you are passion, what is your passion, what is your fixation, and how you can move away from needing your neurotic need because it's blinding you, it's
Yeah.
keeping you from actualizing your true
You're a slave.
healthy
You're a slave
self.
to it.
You are a slave.
Yeah.
Okay. And the idea of connecting this to Gestalt therapy is super interesting because it is about self responsibility. And the Enneagram, the clinical Enneagram or classic Enneagram is all about identifying these blocks and lessening the effect of these fixations on you and your life so you can actualize who you truly are. So, in that way, I will say that it does connect to Gestalt really well because you can identify the behaviors that you're doing now, the processes and beliefs that you subscribe to in the present, and take more responsibility over it. However, I will also say that there is a lot of looking back when it comes to especially modern and both enneagrams really. There's a lot of looking back to that original trauma and how it's built you into today. So it's not a perfect one-to-one, but definitely the aspects of responsibility and the current day-to-day processes that enneagram tries for you to identify and then resolve are definitely in there. But there's a lot of like, I'm going to use a Russ word here, circle jerking the past to
Yeah.
figuring out your present. So it does have that aspect to it. And I hope that answers your question.
Very fucking geeky as a motherfucker. Damn. Yeah. Oh shit, man. Is LE fit INFJ? Yeah, I mean INFJ equals NI, FE equals I. Yeah. It sure works, Cool. How obsessive do you think sexual thought is, Rust? I don't. Sometimes I'm not sure how I feel about such questions because I know what they are asking. It's kind of like, well, I'm obsessive 80% of the time, but I heard that sexual thought is obsessive 99% of the time. So am I obsessive enough to be as obsessive as sexual thought? It's like, they're obsessive. Yes, they're intense. All sexual subtypes are that way. But I feel like it's a useless information, for you. Like it's not gonna help you with anything. Like yes, it's obsessive. So who gives a fuck? Every other fucking sexual subtype is also obsessive. So if you're trying to figure out if you are this, that's gonna be a difficult question. Never try to type yourself by asking hyper specific questions, which are really just shared by every other fucking type. And that's what I see people doing. Well, and I see this on PDB. This one user. Well, Naranko called this type insensitive introvert, and I'm a sensitive introvert. Can I be this type? It's like you're missing the fucking point. Do you have the neurotic need of the type? Do you fit this neurotic need of this type? Oh, you don't? Well, so who gives a fuck? That's what you look for, not fixated details. But maybe that's not what you're looking for. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just fucking going off. But let's continue further. People, who's Memphis? Nemo. Hello, Nemo. How far can social to isolation go? What do you think, Rain?
How far can social to isolation?
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's a hard question. It's a hard question.
I think that it's I can't see the social two itself have these giant sprees of like isolation outside of typical self-defense mechanism of like all subtypes. I know that the social seven has particular isolation phases as well because they know the difference between their real self and the fake self that they project to everybody else. So they need to escape from that. I would say that the social twos generally move towards
People.
honoring commitments,
Yeah.
going towards people. One of the biggest problems, and more than the E7s even, the social two cannot accept limits.
Yeah.
This is so closely connected to their neurotic fixation that even if they're running themselves into the ground, burning out, the social two will honor their commitments, will wake up 5 a.m. for a meeting.
Yeah.
Will work until
Yeah.
12 a.m. at night. They will go to your like let's say they have a kids basketball game. They'll go to that, then be in a meeting the next moment, and then go to the gym, and then go and do another business connection meeting. They will not stop because at some level they are unable to perceive themselves in a way that there is a deficit because they take overabundance.
Yeah.
And remember that initial fixation of overabundance
Yeah.
leads into
They can deal with
survival
anything.
instinct.
There's no shortcomings.
Yeah.
There's nothing. There's nothing lacking. And to say that you cannot deal with something, that you're tired, that this is too much, that requires humility. And it's crazy, right? Because to me, it doesn't seem like it requires humility, but it does. It does. For them, it does. And that's not something that they have. So no, there's no weakness, no shortcomings. But I think isolation can happen with a social tool. I think if they fail, I think if they fail and they are depressed, they are fucked up, they are dysfunctional, I think because of all of those things, they can become more isolated. But that's just because they're depressed. Every other human being could get isolated in that kind of circumstance, you know?
Yep.
So that's my take on that.
There's probably a couple of lines in the book about isolation, but it is not a
It's
core behavioral factor.
Yeah, it's not a big thing. So if you really see this in yourself like a big trait, you might have to reconsider things. But we don't know you, so we can't say.
I also want to take one
Yep.
second. American Pragmatist, if you're in the chat for our lovely chat today,
Mhm.
people have been asking, can you give us a resource
Yeah,
for
please,
Ikazo?
please.
If you can link your translation of the Enneagram of the Fixations into the chat for our lovely audience
Yep.
today, I appreciate you.
Wow, you're such an EIE man. Wow. Now with Nemo, I think Nemo, Finding Nemo. 1V is knowing yourself, right? He asks, and to me, too simplistic. What would you say to that? Yeah, because it's like, what does that mean? Knowing yourself. So if a person knows themselves, does that mean they are 1V? Because I'm sure many SLAs do, and therefore V. So that's too hyper specific, and that's not really related to that. Because I'm sure you could find 1Vs who are clueless about who the fuck they are, because they don't look inwards. They're too busy partying and fucking shit up sexually. It can happen. Unless, what do you mean knowing yourself? Like knowing what you like, what you hate? Like, what do you mean? So you have to be a bit specific. What SP7 is better at than a social 3? This is a competition circle jerk. I like it.
This question is really funny. Because okay, so I'm gonna do a little interest in this. It's interesting because I'm curious about this user's intention with Enneagram. What
Right. You thinking he thinks it's Dragon Ball motherfucking Z. He thinks it's Dragon Ball Z. There's a power, or where am I better at? Right, fucking right. So I get that. But maybe we shouldn't indulge in those questions, because maybe it's gonna promote the wrong fucking image and thing with Enneagram. Maybe that's not what we're not here to say what they're better at, unless he means like, fuck that, man. I don't know. I don't fucking know, man. Let me see. Okay. Let's go to Nemeza. If I understand right, you would say that Gestalt therapy is less diachronic than the Enneagram in general. How much for a typing session?
Well, I don't do typing sessions, but if you're asking for a Rusted Typology official typing session, I'm gonna have my guy here, Russ, tell you about that in just a second.
We did have a $10, $9.95 Enneagram question.
Yeah, it's usually $10, but for you, $9.95. Okay.
See, okay, but you see what he did there. That's the fucking Enneagram 7. Smart. We lowered it 5 cents. Might not seem like a big deal, but when you combine it, it is a big deal.
Okay, so to answer this question, because we're getting geeky again, right? Because we're talking about your stuff there.
Bro, that's all you are about, man. You're just a fucking geek.
So for those who don't know what diachronic means, right? I'm just going to use the Oxford definition. It's concerned with the way in which something, especially language, has developed and evolved through time, right? And it's similar but different to cyclonic linguistics, which is the study of a language at a particular point in time. I will say that Enneagram is, I agree with you, less diachronic than any. Gestalt therapy is less diachronic than Enneagram in general. And just to keep that straight, I don't want to lose people to falling asleep to the stream. This is not an ASMR stream.
No, this is calming for people. People want that. It's like knowledge. It's a flow of fucking knowledge.
I believe that I agree with you.
Yeah, that's it. Sometimes you know what they say. Sometimes shorter is more powerful. We're not talking about dicks, by the way, because that's never the fucking case. Don't listen to the chicks who say otherwise. Okay, come on. Okay, American Pragmatist says, from observation, how do fives deal with their emotions? What's their emotional range like? Is it always a dry depression, as Naranjo said, or can it be wet occasionally? I mean, if I may start on this, I would say, I think, listen, emotions are the biggest problem for the Enneagram 5. Literally. If there's one thing that Enneagram 5 is completely butchered by, it's emotions. And you see this vulnerability, intimacy, closeness. So it is someone who, to be honest, is can be very schizoid. And I'm saying schizoid. I'm not saying schizo fucking frantic. There's a difference. Schizoid, there's a emotional flatness, right? And I'm pretty sure it does correlate to Enneagram 5. So in general, I think this is someone who probably would come across as at least externally uh, unemotional, having difficulty expressing their emotions. Not necessarily that they might not feel deeply inside, but this is someone who has a difficult time expressing emotions, relating to people, getting close to people, feeling that emotional vulnerability. So in general, you would describe them as unemotional in a sense that they don't seem emotional. That's not to say that they don't have inner turmoil. It's just they don't externalize much emotionality. What do you think, Rain?
Absolutely. I think you definitely started the conversation out correctly.
Mm.
The E5, if we go down to the fundamental, has a feeling of lack, which we can see similar actually to the E4. But the lack almost comes from a place of having resources, having the life vitality to survive in this world. This is where the avarice passion comes from. The E5 is greedy. They're stingy. They keep the vital resources of their life to themselves because just like the E4, they feel like they have a lack. If they give too much of their energy away, too much of their vitality away, their resources, even their knowledge, the thing that they pride themselves on, they feel like they would be overcome by the world. Just a quick tangent: E5 and E7 are actually similar to each other. It's like they pulled it's like a sock where it's pulled the opposite way around, where the E7 tries to distract themselves from their inner void using gluttony, and hedonism. The E5 tries to distract themselves from the pull of the outside world using stimulating intellectualism, inner worlds, and developing knowledge. I will say, to answer your question, every E5 deals with emotions in a very similar, detached way.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the sexual 5 is emotional in an expressive way. That is how it is described
Yeah.
in the E5 book. But the inner world of the E5 is always going to be heavily moderated. They try to separate themselves from feelings, and they put energy into an intellectual passion because they innately feel poor. They feel like they don't have a lot. And because of this, even though they want to express the overwhelming feeling of emotions as every human
Yeah.
does, they
Yeah.
try to keep distance from it because they feel like they will be overcome by it.
Yeah, right.
I will say
Overwhelmed.
that,
Fear of being overwhelmed, drowning in the emotions.
yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So even the common E5, they are often people of solitude, but guess what? They keep this solace the solitude, even from their overwhelming feelings of even physical feelings, like not even just emotional. People think that like E5s they just hoard stuff, and it's true, but they hoard their life energy so much that you can see them not even performing like basic maintenance. Sometimes like brushing your teeth or going out to get food or making food for themselves, because even that itself can be taxing on what they feel like they don't have enough of. So it's actually a little bit more complex, and their emotions are the same way. Okay, I'm done geeking about the E5. I know a lot of you are E5s out there. I want to give you
Yeah,
special attention.
they needed that kind
Mhm.
of the love. But Nemo says, I've been reading a little lately and I've identified entered logic. But if you can answer me this, one L constantly doubts things and feels insecure about his intellectual capacity, or that's third logic. Well, if I may talk about, I'm third logic. I would like to think I'm a pretty good example of that placement, and I know people who are first logic. In fact, many of the people I've dealt with are first logic, and we clash quite a bit. Now, uh, generally, thing of first logic as that is their weapon. First logic is everything to them, is everything. This is the one thing that they can have some kind of fucking confidence in, one thing that they just fixate on and they put all their baskets in. The third logic isn't. At the end of the day, at best you have someone who's a pseudo intellectual, that if you press him hard enough, he's going to start resorting to other methods of dealing with the situation. Okay, so yes, doubting, feeling, going in circles, being insecure about the intellectual prowess, those things are much more archetypally third logic. I mean, that's how third logic, that's how it manifests. Growing up, maybe they feel there is certain intellectual envy with third logic. That's happened. And competition, reactiveness. This is an aggressive placement. So in a sense, you can almost, if you put one L3V and one V3L in the same fucking room and they talk about ideology, I'm telling you, it's going to be a war, you know, despite that being their aggressive logic. So it can come across that way. So yes, that would more likely be third logic. Do you have anything to add here, Ray?
Yeah, I think you explained it really well. I'm just gonna simply say the one L will have a stronger feeling, stronger grasp on their mental space,
Oh yeah.
their reasoning capability.
Oh yeah.
It is very difficult to me to see 3L in that case.
Yeah.
Even with a third volition, 1L, they are
Yeah.
very confident even with their
Oh.
capabilities and
Oh
abilities.
yeah. Yeah. It's
That's all I'm gonna
someone
say.
who uh, that's their bread and butter. That is their bread and fucking butter. And if you're third logic, you might poke. But if they pressure you on your logic, you're kind of fucked. So what do? You might become aggressive, or you might run away from the argument, which third logic can do, unfortunately. So that's with one L, it might not be that way. They will have the intellectual prowess to kick some ass in the intellectual field, you know. So that's our take. Now, Crimson King says, if you settle on an Enneagram and socionics type, but do not relate to the PY, how do you work around it? Now, Ring, what's your take? Because I know you're not some rigid correlationist. How would you go around that shit?
Yeah, first of all, I'm going to say that these type of conversations they happen all the time in the community. Correlations have really popped off in the last 2 to 3 years, and everyone wants to make sure that they're consistent between each system. Personally, I have, and a lot of people notice about I'm not the I don't consider myself a correlationist. I also in
Yeah, how the fuck do we coexist then? People be like,
generally
Russ is so rigid. Russ, no, we have one group who says Russ doesn't have his own takes. Russ only listens to his team, which is ironic, very ironic if you actually get to know me. Another team's like, no, he's rigid. This is fucking nothing. He's a fucking six score, fucking LSI. How the fuck can we exist in the same room? You're not a fucking rigid correlationist? What the fuck?
I know. And of course, your wife, Alina, would definitely disagree with me as well when it comes to some of your rigidity. But
Yeah,
I
she
don't
would.
feel like a rigid person,
She she
honestly speaking.
she would, but and I'm gonna fucking argue against it here. I'm sorry. I'm gonna tell her. I'm not saying but I'm saying that's not true. I think I'm. Many people think I'm not fucking rigid. And if you come, dude, if you come to me with the right attitude, I will be open. But if you come to me with a stinky fucking feet attitude, coming with this like hostility towards me and shit, maybe you hate correlations and you give me attitude. I'm not gonna fucking give you a kiss on the cheek. Like what you expect? I'm gonna be open with you. Fuck that. That's my take on that. But anyway,
I will actually turn this into something useful PY wise as well.
yeah.
1Ls and 3Ls, especially 3Ls, if you want to, and I love having conversations with 3Ls in particular. If you want to have a conversation where it doesn't go into Bridges land, where like, no, my perspective is right, no, my perspective is right, go into the conversation without an agenda.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Talk
Oh
to
my
the
god,
other person like they're a human being.
that's true.
And
That's true. That's
understand
true.
their perspective, respectfully talk about yours, and you'll be amazing with good communication.
Literally, that's me and him. That is me and him. Literally, like, unironically, me and Ring. I don't remember when we actually had an argument about typology, and we don't agree. Like that's the funniest fucking shit. We don't agree. Like if you look at, we don't agree, but we are because of his attitude to logic. He's not interested, bro. He's not gonna fight you. And no, maybe you provide a good argumentation. He's like, I'm gonna learn. I can learn something. I can give you some knowledge. And if you process logic, you're gonna be interested. Okay, let me learn. Let me get something here. So it's kind of, yeah, we fucking went off topic heavy. Fucking activation. Yo, Ring. That was fucking pure activation, bro. At fucking at play. But
Yo, bro,
if you settle on, so what do we do? There's this Enneagram that he has his socionics. That fucking PY sucks. What do? Reject it? Reconsider your typings? What do you do?
there's so many different things. Like, I don't know the Crimson King. The only thing I know about him, he has great taste in music, or he likes JoJo's. Both great. Love that about him. But or them, I don't know what your gender is. I will say to you that look at what is in common information. If you think of Enneagram, Socionics, and PY as machines, where if you input self information into them, you will come across certain outputs of types, right? I need you to really go back into Enneagram and go back into your sociotype and really make sure that the information is consistent between all three of those and try to understand who is the Crimson King. Maybe even I've done this before, make 10, 15 characteristics about yourself and really try to understand what that is, get opinions from others. And at the end of the day, listen, if you can't fit yourself rigidly into each.
Yeah, bro, don't kill yourself on that. Don't just
kill yourself,
yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
This is a tool, and this is why I also me and Russ get along is because I'm the way I see typology. I
Yeah.
see it as a tool. It is to help you transform. It is to help you become a better person. It is to make you happier and live your life more freely.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if finding the correlations helps you do that, please find your correlation.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, and you feel like you're already benefiting, Godspeed.
Yeah, I agree with Ring. Like, I went so many circles over details, over correlations, over dumb shit, and it's a never-ending journey. And it's like I'm looking for the truth. I'm searching for the truth. Good luck with that. Sometimes you have to step away, and it's hard. I think if you're a third logic, or it's hard to do that. Just for overall for people to just step away. They want the answer, and the more they learn, the more confused they get. They get doubts. So for me, honestly, utilize what you have, like he said, and just don't worry about PY. Just take a break. Sometimes that's what you need. Take a break. Few months, 6 months, a year from PY. Clear your head. Come back, and then maybe think about it. But sometimes when you're trying to find the answer, you're hitting on the wall, and there's nothing. By hitting more on the wall, you're not going to get the answer. And that's what was so important for me to learn. Step away. Step away. Stop obsessing. Step away. That is our advice. Now we have another question. I've seen someone here. Denezo, I know Denezo. I've seen his posts on PDB. This is probably the same as the social 7 and the social 2. But what's the best way to tell apart social 8 and social 2? Tupac is a prime example of this discussion, but lots of other people and characters are Enneagram 2.
Russ, you got this question down pack.
Yeah, but I feel like because that's my type. I feel like it's a fucking circle jerk. So I want you to explain it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I've been talking about social 7 this whole time, so
Yeah, but listen. I don't mind. I just feel like my explanations are always the same, and my community listens to my explanations. They're not there's not as much difference there. So if I tell them, it's probably going to be something I have said many times. And is it beneficial to people? They're still asking me the question. So if I explained it before, they're still asking me the question. Probably, so you can explain in a way that's going to be different and going to benefit people.
Absolutely. And this is the interesting part, right? Because if you were here when I was explaining this earlier, the E2, the E3, and the E4 have lost themselves to their image. This is part of their neurotic fixation. They distort the way other people see them, but they also distort the way they see themselves. All of this done unconsciously. The social 2 is someone who does not see themselves accurately. They see themselves with such high levels of grandiosity that they feel like they can do it all. Who is the smartest person in the room? The social 2 will say themselves. Who is the most ambitious? The social 2 will say themselves. Who is the most empathetic and has the most particular unique love? The social 2 does. Who has the best friends? The social 2 does. This is what the social 2 thinks because they can't fathom these type of deficits, especially at neurotic levels. I'm not describing those healthy social 2s out there who have realized you are a bit valuable, just like the rest of us.
Yeah.
The social 8 has other problems with its, it has E8 problems with its, what's the word I like to use for E8? Visceral. They have this visceralness to them. They have the lust mechanisms. They are driven to actualize the pleasure principle like the E7, except they're even more rebellious and they are unapologetic for that. The social 8 comes across like the social 2 because they can both be organizers of people. They're very popular. They get people around them often for virtuous, or like morally good missions. Here's the catch. The social 8 is not as afraid of the social 2 to bring themselves down to your level. The social 8, as all E8s, are more likely to tell you how they struggle, how there was obstacles in their way, how people tried to bring them down, how people belittled them, and what they did to overcome that. They will relate to you in ways like, yeah, I was there with you. I was in the dirt. And you know what? Now we're up. And the social 2 has a hard time accepting that they had weaknesses in the first place. The social 2 has lost themselves to the image. The social 8 also projects the image of brotherhood, loyalty, and unity.
Shout out.
But they don't lose themselves to their weaknesses. In fact, they turn their weaknesses, their defects, the things that are wrong about them, often into something good, similar to those who are paying attention. E7's rationalization. Yes, they are neighbors on the Enneagram for a reason. The E8 does what is known as counter-introjection. This counter-introjection allows them to reframe parts of their lives where society will tell them that they are bad, that they're no good, and say, yeah, I was punched in the face. Yeah, you may have killed somebody. Not to say E8 don't kill someone. I know
it's just an exaggerated example.
But they will reframe it in a way that it shows that everything that was bad is actually good and he did it for a right cause. So social 8s are not as afraid to be at the level of brothers. The social 2 doesn't want to be your brother. The social 2 wants to be your father.
Oh my God, dude, that's such a fucking amazing quote. That and that's all people need to know. If they just know this, bro, that's so quotable. What the fuck? But
I just thought of it, dude. just thought of it.
That's exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. It's like, and we talked about this. I remember talked about it on PDB, because people really confuse it. I see many social twos. They're not social two. Optimus Prime, nothing social two. And how does an Optimus Prime who's relating to his people, we struggle, I'll help you, we're on the same level as social two? It doesn't make sense. So as he says, the social two cannot relate to you, man. I'm sorry, he can't. He can lead you from a position of old father, position of I'm this powerful. I will help you, I will guide you. But this is not your fucking, like, we're in this fucking together. We're not gonna fucking let them do this shit to us. We are equal. And that's the difference too. I feel like that social aid also, there's more humility and there's more willingness to kind of be like, you know what, yeah, we end this is a fuck fest, but this we want that equality. We want to be brothers, we want to be together in this shit. I think that's way more social aid than it is for social too. And Ring is very involved in what I'm doing, and he can definitely confirm this, that the way I operate as a social aid, it's always, we are here together, we are here on an equal footing. Not I am here telling you what the fuck to do because I'm better. This not like this at all. It's, we're here, look, I often give them power. I give them power because that's my way of showing we in this shit together. I trust you. I'll give you all the fucking power, all the power in the fucking world when we'll share it together. And that's what I'm doing. And that is something that a social tool, from what I've seen, wouldn't do. Because a social tool, you put in a position of power, decapitation fucking starts, man. Especially when they're not healthy, decapitation can start. They don't want to be body reinforcing this way, this equality between you two on an equal footing. I mean, am I fucking correct or not?
You're absolutely correct. And this is the exact way the social eight thinks as well. The social two, in their mind, there is a discrepancy. There is not this unilateral way of thinking. They
Yeah.
can't handle being on the same level as somebody. The idea with the social eight is, of course, we don't want you to think that now this is like
Yeah.
a truly
Yeah.
holy person, just
No.
equal, and angel made social sevens into angels, and they're not.
Yeah.
Social eights are no angels either.
No.
They want this relationship with you because they're neurotically fixated on the social instinct.
Yeah.
They want this relationship with you because they want to be, yes, they want to be your brother, but in ways they act like
Yeah.
they're your older brother.
Yeah.
They create close connections with
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
because they want you to feel like they can start guiding you in that way and take the group in some way. They want to practically project themselves as your brother, but
Yeah.
actually feel like they're your
Right.
older brother.
Right. And that's the problem with a social aid. I think people the problem with the social aid. I know I'm circle jerking, but it's like, people have this idea. Social aid is just a nice aid. They're just nice. I want him as my friend. It's like, well, social aid has flaws, and their flaws are literally in the social instinct. That's not nice. Social aid is someone who, maybe you guys meet up, maybe you guys are in the same club, football club, and he sees you. Oh wow, we support the same team. That's cool, man. We should hang out together. You'll hang out together. And what you don't know is that you are signing a fucking unspoken contract of fucking loyalty. Because in this guy's head, you guys you guys like the same fucking team. You guys support the same club. And you guys are both fucking fans of football. So as far as he knows, you are involved in this shit together. So now, if you go somewhere else and say, man, fuck this club, man. Like, I support the other club. Now he's like, yo, what the fuck are you doing, man? I saw you supporting the other club. What the fuck is up with this attitude, man? This is not fucking acceptable. So the social aid isn't just your buddy. The neurotic aspect of the social aid is that he doesn't know how to create relationships with people on a genuine level. He idolizes this friendship, brotherhood, unity, shout out, because he doesn't know how to have that deep emotional connection on that kind of genuine level. So he creates complicity. He creates those complicit relationships. And he's going to drag you into it. You might tell him, I didn't tell you I was loyal to you. I didn't tell you I was loyal to this fucking ideology at this group, whatever the fuck. I was just chilling. No, mate. You. I thought you were on my fucking side. They will fucking drag you in, and by doing that, they hold you accountable for any betrayal, any fucking anything like that. And then you will see the excessiveness and complete unreasonable nature of the social aid. Trust me, it. I know because I have dished it out many times in my life. Okay, so I know, and it's yeah, it's don't glaze this type, please. I swear, I type as this. Never glaze this type. It's cringe. It's not a cool. It's not the best type. Everyone wants to be friends with this fucking type. They're flawed like everyone fucking else, and that's the truth. Okay, see, that's how I know I'm not a social dude because of what the fuck I just said. We are flawed. We don't want to be as good as you want us to be. It's an impossible to reach fucking standard, which is bullshit. Oh man, fuck. Okay, let me see. Da- 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 da. I see them talking. I see them talking. Ring and Rust. Have you seen sexual nines without someone to or something to merge with? What are they like? What do they look realistically when seeking symbiosis with the person? It's a hard question. It's a good question, but it's a very hard question. Um, what do you think, Rain? What do you think? Have you seen? Because I don't think I've seen a sexual nine who hasn't been symbiotically fucking involved. I guess I can't
It
think of.
almost feels like I know this might seem like a cop out answer to you, pragmatist, but a sexual nine that is without someone or something to merge with sounds like a sexual nine that's finally becoming less neurotically fixated. Like
Oh
a
shit!
sexual three, right? That isn't involving
Oh
themselves in like neurotic gender display. You know, like it's I can be
wow!
my own person. I know that's kind of like a logical
No, no, no.
consequence.
This is good though. This is fucking good. A sexual nine who's able not to be fixated on some shit, not probably being abused in some relationship, right?
Mhm.
Th- that's a sexual nine that can kind of live on his own 2 feet. That's
Yeah.
that's a yo. That's a good fucking see. That's a good ass fucking point. I didn't think of it. Wow, this is amazing. Okay, let me see. Most SO2 and B has imposter syndrome. Works for overcome it. It's crazy. American pragmatist Russ is such a social aid. It's crazy. The other typings are such a cope. Um,
Based
yeah,
real.
sadly real, but for better or worse, sometimes I feel like I'm very stereotypical, and I'm like, Jesus, I need to stop. I'm not trying to be stereotypical here, okay? But Alexander the Great, Napoleon, I agree. Why is your name Rusted? Why is my name Rusted? Because I'm rusty. I'm a grandpa. I'm an old man. But long story short, it's basically it's actually there was a character I really liked. Actually, his name was Rust Cole. Actually, True Detective, and I liked this character. So I had his name, right, Rust. And then obviously, okay, it's a character I liked, had the name, thought it was a cool name. Then I moved on. But my wife was writing a book. She was writing a book, and it had a character called Rust, and the character was based on me. So obviously, it's like us meeting, and she was really writing this novel. So when I saw it like Rust, and I'm like, fuck, she kind of put me in a book and created something so solidified. So I'm like, okay, that's me, that's Rust.
That's so adorable.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
never knew this.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
so
yeah,
cute.
yeah.
Oh my
She
god.
you don't know, you guys don't know, but we were working together on a book, um and the book was called The Other Side, actually. And it was this book, we had a plot. I was in this book, of course, but we also had some of our other friends as characters with different names kind of incorporated in this book. And it was a book about this futuristic world, almost like cyberpunky, world when there were two cities, almost like Arcane, before even we knew what Arcane was, where there's this poor city, and Ross, the character Ross, came from that. Then he came to this city called Zikan. We called it Zikan, and this Zikan was this over the top fucking IE sexual 7. It's a colorful, vibrant city, and he's living in this city. This is a cyber future. He's an owner of this kind of like internet club or something. It's such a complex story, and then they meet, and we were working on this shit. We honestly, I told her like, we need to fucking finish this book. This might be the next Harry fucking Potter, you know. And I'm gonna be the fucking lead actor, so why the fuck not? Hopefully, if they made a fucking lead actor with me, at least make him look like me a bit. You know, don't be putting a fucking like dude doesn't even look like me. That'll be ridiculous, you know. Okay. Social 2 are animal leaders. Social 8 are real life ones. I don't wanna put them down that way either, you know. Like, oh, social 8s are the true fucking sigmas. No, nah, you know, nah, not at all. Uh how does Enneagram 8 with 4 fix work, or 4 with Enneagram 8 fix work if one is introjection and the other is counter introjection? He's asking basically, how can they work together if they're the opposite in their defense mechanisms?
It's a good point. Once again, why I'm not a huge fan of modern tri types. Well, we're talking about trifixes here, but generally speaking, of course, if you're an E8 or an E4 respectively, that is the fundamental core, right? That is that is the typing that you identified with. That is what you're going to work with. If you have a 4 fix or an 8 fix, respectively, you will show aspects of lust, aspects of envy, but it's not necessarily you're going to be showing, like, if you are like a sexual 4, it's unlikely that you're going to have moments where you're just showing counter interjection, you know? It's more of like a superficially, you kind of relate to those other elements of the other Enya type. So that's my answer for that. I will say get yourself your Ikazo trifixations because they're more robust and they give you more out of it, and the system
Yeah.
was designed for you to find your trifixation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna get answers like this from me, where it's like it feels a little wish-washy because
Yeah.
it was never truly defined
Yeah.
well.
It has to be wishy-washy. Has to, sadly, you know. You should have bought out a notepad. I swear to fucking God, man. I swear to God, bro. Every day with Ring, it's just I'm listening to dudes just dropping quotes, knowledge. And you know what's funny? He can replicate this shit, you know. Fucking next Friday, he can be here yapping away. This is one thing. What really surprised me about Ring as an LIE, he's so expressive. People don't understand how expressive he is. I'm an ethical type. I type myself as an FE demonstrative, right? FE minus. So there's a difference. He is FE roll and he's FE plus. But fucking, I swear to God, if you were on a VC, we're playing a game, we're doing anything, you'd hear this guy is just laughing hysterically, you know, so fucking expressive, trying to make sure that the mood is actually fucking positive, you know. And sometimes he mocks me. He mocks me. Can you impersonate me? Can you do that when I play a game and I'm like can you do that FE minus shit? Are you able to do that shit?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, try to mimic me the FE minus. Try to do that.
Gotcha. Just to give you guys like a contrast,
Yeah.
in like let's like we're playing like an FPS game, right?
Yeah.
Be like, all right, guys, let's fucking do this. Let's
Yeah.
fucking get those kills, right? And
Laugh, robust, yeah.
But then we have we have Rust here. He throughout the game, he's like, guys, where's everyone? We need to go in now. Guys, go. We gotta push.
Yeah.
Hello, is everyone here? You guys hear me? Let's go.
That cope is so real, dude. I'm so fucking. I'm just, guys, where's everyone? Guys, am I the only one on the point? Guys, what the fuck? Are you fucking joking, guys? Where the fuck is everyone? Guys, we're gonna push now, okay? Guys, let's push. Like, it's so fun. And he's like, fucking, you know. So it's so crazy. This is a true LIE. This is how they are. positive. So when we said LIEs are positive, some people come to me, you're describing an ILE. That's not an ILE. That's not an ILE. The positivistic, that's the LIE. Remember that. And they will be more positive. You can almost look at them and think ESC. If you are so like, if you think, wow, he's so expressive, he's so nice, he's so always motivating people, he's an ESC. Guess what? Fuck no, he ain't. So that's kind of a little fun thing. Dude, we just we just fucking around, man. We just having fun. Denezo, what's Lilith typology? Lilith typology is an SP4 ESI. Funnily enough, I'll tell you a story. Story time. Um, I was uploading an interview with my wife. SP4 interview, but it was like SP4II. We fucking didn't know shit. But there was one there was one person in the comment section saying, I don't think she's an IEI. I think she's an ESI. And I'm like, yo, babe, fuck this motherfucker. Don't worry about him. This prick doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's a moron. So I'm thinking that, telling you, yeah, I'm sorry, I take it back. Okay, actually, you were correct. Like, yeah, she is an ESI. So this person was like, she's super stiff and rigid. That's not very IEI. You're completely right. Completely right. Okay, let me see. The Ross is sexual one. Yeah, spreadsheet. Is Vegeta SLE or SEE? SLE. What's Ring's Enneagram? A ring is the blueprint of a social 7. Run 4 into playing CS2. No, genuinely, like, I'm a person, like you can hear the energy, and like you can hear the emotions leave my fucking body. You do. Like, I play a game, we lose, we get fucking butt fucked, and when I'm not feeling it, you can tell. There's flat, bro. Like, there's nothing. So it's really funny. I used to think I'm an SLE because I'm like, yo, I'm not, I can be a serious guy. I'm not this fucking goofy little cunt, always fucking all emotional shit. So yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, just to add on to that as
Yep.
well, Russ, without going too
Yeah, yeah,
deep
yeah, yeah.
into socionics, you know how I feel about that right now.
Yeah, of course. I don't mind, man. Okay, go ahead.
The idea here is that if you look at both Russ and I, you can clearly tell after like less than an hour, Russ is like an ethical type, and I'm likely a logical type. Because even though I can be upbeat and cheerful, and he can be more calm and a bit dry at times, with his emotions, even though they're like intense,
Yeah.
it's clear that he does it consistently, skillfully, to the point that you wouldn't mistake it for a logical type, right? If you're using classic, of course, in Western, everything's possible. In classic, you wouldn't be able to. You can tell that difference. For me, I've noticed that I really put my all into like really bringing up the vibe, and then when I do that, or I feel like I did my due diligence, I just shut the fuck up for a little bit and just vibe. I was like, okay, I contributed. Okay, I paid my taxes. All right,
Yeah.
I'm good.
And also, for you're so like, for me, that's the ethical, because for me, I'm not concerned. The emotional atmosphere. Like, people are like, for example, we lose. Everyone's fucked up. The PTSD sinks in. I'm quiet for like half an hour. This guy's talking. I'm just quiet. Fucking 30 minutes quiet. Silence. Radio silence. My wife looks at me like, "Wow, bro. Like, what happened? Like, you look, you're fucking. You look PTSD." And I'm like, "It's okay, man. It's okay." But it's like, for me, I don't care. Like, the emotional atmosphere. Even if I impose myself on the emotions of others, it's not the end of the fucking world. I'm not always paying attention that how is the emotional atmosphere? What's the state? Make sure I uphold it. I don't think this. But Ring does, and it's obvious, because when people are not feeling good, when the mood's off, he can feel responsible for it. He can feel kind of shitty about it, especially when he feels that he failed in that regard, which is very effy role. So that's also how it can manifest.
And just to add to that, structurally in classic socionics, Russ here is an SEE. He has role NE. I'm here with
Yeah.
my role FE.
Oh my god, yeah.
Your role function makes up for your suggestive and your vulnerable.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you're not able to pick up the right amount of information from there. For the
Right,
LIE,
right.
the reason why they're so fixated outside of just presenting a positive, upbeat, emotional standard to make sure that they synergize with others in that way, they can't really tell what your physical well-being is like outside of very obvious traits, and behaviors that comes from that, and they can't really tell where they stand with you as a person. The SLE also has this problem as well. Every single one-dimensional FI type has this problem where they kind of have to use other things besides being able to tell what the relation actually is. It's almost like a litmus test. The LIE uses their FE role. They'll crack a joke to you. They'll giggle, laugh, and smile. And if you hit them back with sadness and some negative emotion, they're going to think there's something wrong with how you are feeling. And even the idea of not being close or being on bad terms with you. They get all that from their FE, and of course, this is not successful. It doesn't. They don't do it well because the best way to find that information is to actually figure it out on those elements and not cope it through your. But yeah, that's why the role is super important to understand the socionic.
Very, very, very important, because the role of the role is very crucial. If you get that the point. But okay, great explanation, by the way. Great explanation. Let's go. Would an IE can't relate to through physics is to copy to be 2L positive of being. I'm not gonna fight against you if you think you relate to EVLF. I'm not gonna fight against you. If you genuinely, and only under one circumstance, if you genuinely know this system well, if you're not confusing shit, and you are very certain that you are this type, I'm not gonna fight you. For example, many people say I cannot be third logic. I have to be VFEL. Sorry, I have to be fourth logic. I don't agree whatsoever at all, and I know enough about the system to 100% be sure of this. So I'm not gonna fight you if you look at the system and you fucking believe in it and you know it. I'm not against it. It's not a ridiculous thing, okay? Know that IE's correlations are fucked. They are fucked. That's why I'm not gonna fight you over this shit, because the correlations are just a bit fucked. Next, ways to tell apart TI polar versus FI polar that aren't just ethical and logical. What do you think about this one, right?
These sociology questions are getting me.
Yeah,
Yeah, at the end of the day, you have to think about it, right? I'm not going to break because when you talk about one thing in socionics, you have to kind of talk
exactly. You have to talk about the other blocks and the fucking connection, right? Yeah.
It can be extremely tedious, right? And sometimes left to interpretation. I will give you the basic rundown, right? In the mental ring, the most important aspect of your sociotype structure in classic socionics, your creative, which is producing, is going to make itself up for your vulnerable, which is also supposed to be producing, but clearly you will be struggling with that. Your base and your role is accepting. So what I've noticed with SLEs versus SEEs, and you can clearly see this with Russ here, especially even with his like social, not social type, any type of social aid, the SEE copes with their TI polar utilizing their creative FI to ensure their position, favorable positions in systems. They strengthen their interpersonal relationship. The SLE does the opposite. For the SLE to ensure their interpersonal relationships, they strengthen their hierarchical positions and the way they interact and relate to other people in a logical, systemic way. And that is I find the best way to kind of tell those apart.
Wow.
Who is coping what?
That you said it very well. You said it very well. How would you know if you're a social 1 or a social 5? And to me, it's a weird question, because social 1 is extremely assertive and dominant type, right?
Yes, I can explain this and other questions in this chat. Okay, this happens quite often, and I've noticed with the social instincts as well. No one is gonna ask you, "Am I an SP1 or an SP5?" I don't know. I think the social
That's true.
instincts
That's true.
They're very defined by their socialness, by community understanding. So here we go, right? The If you are ever confused if you are a certain subtype or another subtype with the same instinct, remove the instinct from the equation. Remove it. Don't think about a social one. Think about an E1.
Ah,
Don't think
right,
about a
right.
social five. Think about an E5 and compare E1 and
They're
E5.
not similar. They're not similar.
They are not similar, and I
No.
personally do not believe that if you are a social one or you are a social five, you will not relate to E1 or E5 respectively. Or if you're like a social one, you would relate more to E5 than E1. That to me, that doesn't make sense. The system structure, as I established earlier, was built off of these ideas of passions with fixations, which they work with an instinct. But the fundamental core is the passion itself and its fixation. I want you to go ask yourself, writer, are you an E1 or an
That's it.
E5?
That's
Because
it.
both of these types project an
Yeah.
image of expertise, especially in intellectual
You will
ones. You're gonna get lost in the sauce.
sometimes people come with me to those questions giving subtypes, and I'm like, why don't you just make it easy for yourself? You're getting confused because you have the social subtypes. Look at the core. They're not similar. So how are you confusing them? You're clearly not looking at the core. If you're confusing them, you're not. Because the difference between 1 and fucking 5 is like between 8 and fucking what? Like what would be the
Four,
four?
E4.
And I genuinely could never type myself as 4. Never. I never could see myself in that type. Maybe some others would. I can. So look at the differences. They're huge. Now, next question. If SEE with FE minus is for E, why can EIE also be for E? And I'm going to tell you this. There are a few rules to remember. First, correlations with socionics and PY, they, of course, you can't say they don't exist. They will be problematic to you. They will. And there will be certain things you will not be able to explain. Not because you're dumb, because you just can't. That's one. But if we're looking at an SCE, okay, so we have SCE, which gets types for E. Yeah. What can be the reasoning? Okay, so let's establish. We have FE base. Okay, FE base, FE ego, mental FE. A lot of processes accessing people's emotions, actively impacting the emotional atmosphere. This is their lens. They see everything through this way, able to impact people, and they do it carefully. You have the SEE, which is FE demonstrative. This is a person who is much more impulsive with his emotions. They don't have this precise control over their emotions, how to impact everyone, how to do this that way, how to emotionally impact them. They might be expressive emotionally, but without the nuanced understanding and focus on accessing people's emotional states and impacting them. What does that tell us? That tells us that the SCE probably shouldn't be to E. How can a person who expresses themselves so freely, but also without a care, right? Without the input, the masterful actor, the 2E is the actor, okay? So you have someone who doesn't do that shit. They don't pay conscious attention. So what do we deal with here? What do we have? We have 1E or we have 4E. I'm sorry, that's the truth. Okay? There's no 2E, terrible. 3E, terrible. It's still process. Doesn't make fucking sense and it's insecure. So you're left with 1E or you're left with 4E. Okay? I couldn't type myself 1E. I just don't see how my emotions would take priority over freedom, my volition, my path, my direction. Zero chance in the world. Zero. Is it so? How can I be an SCE and I'll say, well, I pick my volition, my path over my emotions? I'm FE demo. Yes, I express my emotions, but does that mean I consciously think about them? Do you think I think how important they are to me, or do I just express shit? That's the difference. The FE base is all about being crafty with their emotional expression. How do I impact people? This is not someone who's like, fuck it. I'm just going to express myself. I don't give a fuck. This is for E. Okay, result. And EIE is crafty. There's no such thing as EIE who's 4E. It does not make any fucking sense. And I'm not even being rigid. Like, I'm not even being rigid, with this take. EIE 4E is ridiculous, I just don't see it. But, Ring, what do you think? I know you hate those fucking correlations, but do you agree with what I just said?
I think that if I would go from a archetypal combination perspective, it's very hard for me to see the EIE, who is solving all of their problems with FE and NI, is going to have the position of uncaring emotion. It's just very difficult for me to see that, and I'm not even a correlationist.
Yeah, it's right.
Many people who say they're not correlationalists will also say that INFP and E8 doesn't really work either. There's some things that just like, are you sure you checked every type before you got to this point?
Because it's true. Again, yeah, we're not being correlationists, but how can you explain what I just said? Structurally, when you look at the structure, you can't. Like, fucking, you can even say SCI works with 4E. Even I'm more okay, fuck it. 4E, I can, sure, SI base, I can work with it. But a fucking FE base, a result emotion 4E, there's some mistake you're making. There's some mistake you're making, and it's a question of, are you likely more mistyped? Are you more likely to be mistyped in PY? Or are you more likely to think you're an EIE without being an EIE? In my opinion, an EIE, from what I've seen, will most likely know that they are not low emotion. At least that's my impression. I don't think they will think that they're low emotion. I think immediately they'll be like, oh, yeah, high emotion type. It makes sense for me. But maybe I'm not. Maybe it's not true. But that's my own take. Can't tell if Jordan is a 6 or a 1. Jordan is neither a 6 nor neither a 1. Why would he be? Oh shit! Sorry, guys. I see the NI creative and NI vulnerable get confused a lot. Aside from NI vulnerable coping.
Ooh, that's true.
How would you differentiate them? What's NI creative for you like? That's a good question.
Okay, cool. So we already established earlier. I've been saying established so much today, but I think it's important to refer.
It is, man. It is. In this geekism world that we live in, it is.
The mental ring is the most important structure in classic socionics. That is made up of your super ego and your ego. Your super ego is the one that gives a very conscious problem to
solve.
your ego,
Yeah.
and honestly to the rest of your structure. But let's focus on the mental ring here. So the social ideals and the problems and challenges of your superego become almost like a mission for your ego to solve, right? So we're talking here about the LSE and the LIE, where we have both producing functions with NI creative and NI polar, but they get really confused for each other. In the LIE's case, the NI creative is bringing up solutions for FESI. For the LSE, they have creative SI, which is bringing up solutions for FENI instead. So I'm not going to go into the specific blockings, but I'm going to talk about how that structure is kind of resolved for, and how you can start kind of telling where each one is, right? For the LSE, this is someone who is willing to novelly utilize their well-being, the well-being of others, the physical synergies of the current environment, and they'll manipulate that to save themselves time. They are deathly afraid of running out of time. They are deathly afraid of not having their work be completed at the designated moments. They're afraid of missing those temporal opportunities. So they will work themselves into the ground. They will min max their physical systems, with SI, but they'll work themselves into the ground. They'll help others maximize their bodies to be able to do work in such a way that they can overcome the idea of missing all that the exact temporal moments to be able to reach their goal, because they are afraid they will miss the NI information. They will be late. Their work will be no good. That everyone's work will be no good. It was too late. They missed their opportunities. This is the LSE. This is what people assume LIE is like in Western socionics. The one that is like, oh my God, I have to make sure I'm not out of time. I will.
Yeah, they care so much about NI. They're always always stress about it. They always look at their watch. That means their NI ego. It's like the opposite fucking truth.
They use everything in their power
to cope with it. Literally,
someone can criticize them and says, "Hey, buddy, this is some good work, but you're fucking late. You did not make it on time.
Yeah.
Now it's useless. Thanks a lot." Especially I added that little negative emotion to it. Yeah, that's the worst fear for LSEs in that way. So they min max everything. They are the real.
They plan to avoid it. Like I said in my video, they do everything to avoid problems with time. That's what they do. You have a problem that is found in the super ego. The ego block will fix it. That's how the shit works. So that's what they do.
That is exactly what they do. And people see LSEs, they're scheduled, they're planners. They're also proactive like the LIE, but they rigidly follow their schedules. This is what people assume LIE is like. The LIE is not in this way, because the LIE story in the mental ring is different. And that's the way I like to talk about the ego and the super ego, because it's a story. This is something that's missing in Western socionics, which I really prefer in classic, because there is a structural story. The LIE is not afraid of running out of time, of missing those temporal opportunities. The LIE is afraid of discomfort, afraid of the mundaneness, the monotonousness of present day real life. They're afraid of weird feelings in their bodies. They're afraid of being hurt and overwhelmed that way. And of course, this connects to FE, right? And it comes towards how people are expressing themselves as well. That's how they get their information, right? And we're talking particularly about their SI vulnerable. The LIE, just like the LSE, this is where you're going to start seeing the symmetry, but in a different way. The LIE uses their NI creatively to provide situations for them and others not to feel pain, not to hurt their well-being, to be actually comfortable. The LSE will creatively use their bodies and the bodies of others and then influence the well-being of everyone to make sure they can meet those deadlines, meet those temporal moments. The LIE, I always like to say that the LIEs and all NI creatives, they're friends with time. They can borrow from time, they can be late on time, they can be ahead of time, whatever they want, and they don't stress it. They know that time will always give back to them. They know that their bodies, their well-being, their feelings that they feel in their physical selves, that is a horror story. You have no idea what's going to happen. So what they do is, unlike the LSE, who has been grinding all day, 6 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m. at night to make sure all the work has been accomplished, the LIE will look at work and think, wait a minute, okay? I just calculated how long it would take me to actually perform all these tasks. I don't have to start this until the afternoon. I can actually take some time to chill out and maybe sleep in an hour or two. I guess that'll help my body, Maybe I'll watch some, fucking anime, I will do another task. I'll work and do another task in that meanwhile, because I have so much time to do this. And they see this in everything that they do. The LIE is structuring their schedules in a way that they're not forced to deal with mundaneness, routineness, sensory like deprivation in a way that is painful. They hate those type of situations. The LIE is way more than capable of giving you a really nice schedule. And guess what? They themselves are not able to follow it because it goes against NI creative. They will act in the way that makes sense to them, based off of how they have intuitively see how time is going to manifest. So for me and other LIEs, we manipulate the way our days are going to go so we can avoid the mundaneness of life, look towards a future where all our problems are more easier to resolve, because the LSE is not going to wait until next week or
Yeah.
2 weeks from now,
Yeah.
because the work is going to be potentially be better there. This timing is right. The LSE is going to do it today, and they're going to push through it because they can't see those type of opportunities. The LIE has SE in their mobilizing. This is the problem, and I'm going to get into the bio ring. The LIE has SE in the mobilizing. The LSE has SE in the demonstrative. The LIE is not a pusher. They don't want to do hard labor. It bothers them. It concerns them. This is not that type. The LIE is casual with time. They wait for the best opportunities to do things, not because it will save them necessarily time itself, although they appreciate their time just the way LSEs appreciate their bodies. They want to do things in a way that is comfortable for everyone. They don't want to do everything in one day just to save time. If they tell you to do everything in one day, they think that whole next week is going to be great if we just do all that work right now. That's when they'll tell you to do that. But generally, they'll think, yeah, but what if we did a little bit more work today and some work tomorrow, and then we can wait until the deadline, and then we'll have like 2 hours before the deadline to finish that, and maybe we'll do it that way because that'll be more fun and it gives us more time to relax and try to figure things out when it comes to our bodies. The LIE feels like if it manipulates time correctly, it won't have to suffer in the real world. That's it.
Wow. Wow. Whew, you explain it very well, actually. Yeah. So you guys just the LIs do everything, you not to deal with the fucking boring bullshit with their SI, not to deal with their SI, not to get in touch with it, not to suffer from it. And the way you guys use time reminds me of the way SEs use FI. It's so flexible. It's not someone who's like so like worried and like, oh my god, this needs to be do like this. It can come and go if they so wish. You know, like create closeness with this person if they want to, fuck off with the other if they want to, because there's freedom, there's creative use. So
And while we're talking about LIE, right? I also want to talk about the clear connection to E7, because a lot of people are thinking, how can E7 fit like a type like LIE, right? The reality of the classic LIE is someone who thinks that life is going to be more favorable projected at this later time, and they want to detach from the struggles and the monotony of the current day. And
very seven.
all this is fresh in my mind, of course, because I made that Social 7 LIE document.
Check it on PDB, by the way. It's on the Social 7 page. Easy.
Yes. Thank you for the shout outs for that.
Always.
Because
Always.
That's the trick, what people think of LIE these days is SP3. That's how they see LIE.
True.
LIE is
True.
not
True.
SP3.
True. It's once you understand LIE, right? Once you understand LIE, that the notion of them being the SP3 is so ridiculous. You could never fucking imagine in your entire life. That's how this is. Never. Once you understand how an LIE actually works, like SP3, which is this fucking materialistic, conservative, concrete type. No, this is not the LIE. It never will be. So
There's so many situations where I'm like, I know exactly what I need to be doing right now to get through my workday, and I'm dreading it because it feels like it's gonna be monotonous and painful. I'll do everything possible to avoid that. That is like my goal.
That is so different from SP3, which will be like, I'm gonna grind through this and make sure it's fucking good, make sure it's perfect, make sure it's, come on, man. Come on, man.
We talked so much about this. Let's go to the next question.
We did, but listen, guys. Listen, Ring Man, it's late. It's 2 hours. It's 2 hours. But what we can do, if you want to be part of the streams, maybe we can have us, because I need someone to remind me probably to kind of to try, yeah, I know, to try to stay engaged in a live, because I really, when once I do lives, I enjoy them. Before I do lives, I'm like, fucking, do I fucking really want to do a live? But I like them actually when I do them. So maybe next week Sunday.
Yeah. Let me see my schedule, and the
We can
weekend
always
should be fine.
adapt. We can always adapt, but let's do another one next week. You're gonna be also part of it, and we're gonna do what we did today because it was super fun.
Yeah. You got it. We have a really great audience that really makes this stream really fun. So thank you everyone for your questions today.
Yeah, thank you guys. By the way, Tommy Lect is asking, have you ever considered the possibility of being a fucking ILI? And I'm gonna tell you already, I would really like laugh at him if he did, because that's fucking ridiculous. That's no, that's a shock.
I'll be real. I've considered myself in about probably 75% of all sociotypes out there.
Oh, so did you consider like ILI too?
Yeah. I considered ILI because of my deficits sometimes when interacting with other people.
Oh my
But
god,
one of
you
the reasons, oh yeah,
he's more social. He's more social than me. He's more social than me, and he thinks he thought he's an ILI. It's over. Wait. Wait.
wait, it's even better. He was asking you.
What?
He was asking if you were ILI, if you've considered it.
Have you considered? No. 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 I don't know where.
Honestly, yo, let him cook. Let him cook.
La-
Can you give us a document on Russ potentially being ILI? We will read it and analyze it. How about that?
Listen, I'm trying. I'm trying to think of the possibilities by bending logic. I
You
I
know what? You have the same charges as the ILI. Let's start with
I
that.
think it would be a bit difficult to see this excessive person who was known for being very pushy and domineering and fucking intense, right? Extroverted, outgoing, very energetic, always known for his energy, doesn't think about the future. And it would be hard for me to even think that I could be a fucking ILI, like maybe a LSI. I could maybe like lie to myself. I'm like a Sigma male, Michael Corleone. I just need to be more silent and I make it work. But ILI, no, man. All jokes aside, I've never considered being an ILI. I could tell you that I could never relate to an ILI. If you give an ILI in front of me, I would look at them and be like, I want to help you. I want to help you grow, hit the gym, get good, but I don't see any like I wouldn't see how, yeah, how I would see myself. Whatever, just stop. My third logic, I'm tweaking right now, bro. Like the guy made me tweak. Oh fuck. Okay. No, seriously, guys, seriously. I'm sorry, guys, but he leave the questions for another time.
Save them for next stream.
You open to a video typing with me? Of course, I'm open to a video typing. Of course. With your question, of course, Javier is working on it. We have some other projects, but I know his PC was being like worked on or some shit. I don't know if he said that or he didn't say that. I really don't know. I'm not good at this shit. But if you want a video typing, of course, I don't mind. I don't mind. It will be Javier and me then. Okay. But guys, uh, it was fun. It was actually fun, even though I was so confused. I was my brain was like, So yeah. Thank you, Crystal. Vero. Oh, it's Veronica. That's right. I just realized it's Veronica. I just realized it's Veronica. Okay. Awkward. Hello. Yeah. Hello. I thought you were random. I actually thought you were just like a nice random. You're like, wow, this crystal person she's nice. She seems very nice. She has a good vibe. Like, you kind of know this vibe, and then it's fucking Veronica. So what's the difference between TI creative? They're not the same. Think about it this way, man. TI key creative, it can do anything with a system. It's independent. TI activating, aka mobilizing, I think you want to say, cannot do shit on its own. Okay, it needs supervision. It sucks. It sucks. It's independent. Daddy, please give me TI because I'm confused. That's what I want. TI ego doesn't want this. Remember, independent. Anyway, we are out. Thank you, everyone, guys. It was a very fun stream. I'm glad you guys enjoyed Ring and his presence in the stream. We'll see each other next week. This time, I always say this. We'll see each other next week, guys. Never fucking to appear again. Dude died. But Ring is the NI creative here is gonna help it. They're gonna help us. Don't worry.
Yeah,
We get.
I'll see what I can do. I'll see what I can do.
Okay, activator. Okay. But we're out, guys. Bye bye. See you. Love you all. Bye bye. How does FE demo work? The guy's just asking me. Anyway, bye bye. Wave at everyone.